You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Where's the best place to keep your emergency fund? In other words, where's the best place to keep cash that is meant to be used in the event that Murphy comes knocking on your door, or in the event that you have an emergency and you need access to quick cash? That's the question that I posed to some of the top real estate investors and entrepreneurs across the country. And I crowdsourced the 5 best answers. And I'm going to share that with you on episode 619 here on the Flip Empire Show. My name's Alex Pardo. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on. If this is your first time, I hope that this becomes your new podcast home for anything to do with real estate investing, entrepreneurship, personal development, designing a business to enhance and support your lifestyle, understanding that, at least for me, hustle is a season. It's not a lifestyle. And so if that resonates with you and you want more out of your life and you want your business, whether it's real estate or other businesses, other investment opportunities to enhance the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, then you're in the right place. If you've been subscribed to the Flip Empire Show, I really appreciate you. 619 episodes, basically 6 years into this process, a month shy of the 6-year anniversary. And it blows me away how the show continues to grow and the impact it's having on people. I do this because of you. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and share with you that a couple of weeks ago, I went to our private Ascend Facebook group and I posted a question because I wanted to kickstart a conversation that I was having with some coaching clients and some of our members about the emergency fund. Now, if you don't know what an emergency fund is, it's basically an account or a fund or a pool of money or capital that is designated only for emergencies. So it's pretty obvious. It's exactly what it sounds like. Dave Ramsey, whether you subscribe to his line of thinking or not, is a big advocate of having 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund. It's something that my wife and I have had since we got married back in 2013. And for her, I call it an emergency fund. For her, it's really a peace of mind account, knowing that, worst case scenario, if just everything went south, we had 6 months worth of expenses in an account designated for that. And it's not to be touched for anything else. But if you're listening to this, you're an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, or real estate investor. We're always thinking of ways to make our money grow. We're always thinking of where to place our capital because I just don't like money sitting around, especially with what is going on with inflation, 7, 8%, wherever it's at now. By having money sitting in an account, you're actually losing money every day. And I hope you realize that, inflation is that invisible thief that most people don't even account for. Now, having said that, I think it's very important before I share with you the top 5 answers. So I posted this question in 2 Facebook groups, Ascend being one of them, had an incredible conversation there. And in another Facebook group that I'm a part of, we had over 130 comments combined. And what I've done is I've taken a good amount of time and I've essentially plucked out the 5 most common answers as to where people are putting their emergency fund and what they recommend, what they advise. Now, many of these come from people that I know, respect, trust, and I consider savvy investors and entrepreneurs. So as I talk through the 5 most common answers, and I'm going to do it going from 5 all the way to 1, the one that I think is the best, generally speaking, right? You have to consider your situation might be unique and different. Everybody's in a different position. You might have different goals. You might be in a different stage of life. With that being said, here's my disclaimer. You guys know I'm merely the host of the Flip Empire Show. I have been an active full-time real estate investor since 2005. Over the last several years, I've gotten involved in some other businesses, storage, e-commerce, coaching, mastermind, lending, have some rental properties, etc. But by no means do I ever want you to take what I share with you here as gospel or truth. In fact, I always suggest and encourage that you consult with professionals, attorneys, CPAs, advisors, the right people. Do your due diligence and don't just always take somebody's word as truth because it may not be true for you, but I'm here to merely share with you what I have experienced, what I have found. And I think one of the reasons you tune into the show is because I'm not just sharing with you the wins, I'm sharing with you the times that I got kicked in the teeth, the lessons learned, the growing pain, so to speak. So So back to the emergency fund. One thing I want to preface before I launch into this, that I want to preface this episode with, is get crystal clear on why you have an emergency fund. Is it really for just emergencies? Or do you plan on using it like a savings account and using it for, investments and opportunities? If so, I would tell you that maybe just don't call it an emergency fund, right? Maybe call it an investment fund or an investment account. To me, emergency fund is really just to be used for emergencies in the case you're in a pinch. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start with number 5. And number 5 might surprise you. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you the top 5, and I'm probably going to add some comments, some thoughts that I have, my personal opinion. Number 5, crypto. I guess I wasn't surprised, but quite a few people keep their emergency fund in crypto. Now, crypto, obviously, Bitcoin being the most popular. There's Ethereum, Cardano, Solana. I mean, there's a ton of coins out there. And quite honestly, I feel like I'm late to the game. I have quite a few friends who started buying Bitcoin years and years ago. I have one buddy that bought it, when it was south of $500 a Bitcoin. Obviously, I think today it's trading in the 40 to 41, 42,000 range, somewhere around there. I do have some money in crypto, not a whole lot. It's definitely a small part of my portfolio, but I am a believer in the blockchain long term. I think it's technology that's really going to disrupt, kind of like the internet was, back 20 something years ago. So I am a believer. I have been educating myself more when it comes to the blockchain and when it comes to crypto over the course of the last 12 months. And, times are changing quickly. When you talk about things like the metaverse, blockchain, NFTs, I mean, these are things that just 24, 36 months ago, they weren't the focus of, people's attention. And now I think people are really opening their eyes to the fact that this technology is very disruptive, and it's going to, I think, in my opinion, change the way that we live and transact and do business going forward. So now, one thing to understand is crypto, obviously, for the most part, is very volatile. It goes up and down. So I personally don't know. I definitely believe in having, a certain percentage of your portfolio in crypto if you believe in it. But I wouldn't have my emergency funds per se in crypto. Remember, an emergency fund to me is something that is used in the event of an emergency. It's something that needs to be highly, highly liquid. And when I mean highly liquid, I'm talking like worst case scenario within 24 hours. Ideally, like you can get it within like an hour or even at your fingertips. And I'm going to get to that in a bit. So again, I'm counting back from 5 all the way to 1, the one that I believe could be the best one, depending on your situation. Number 5 is cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Number 4, precious metals. I'm talking gold. I'm talking silver. If you follow Robert Kiyosaki, he's obviously, I don't know if he would consider himself a gold bug, but he's a big advocate of precious metals and, gold and silver. If you follow Dave Ramsey, he's the complete opposite. He is not into precious metals at all. And this podcast episode is not meant to get into the pros and cons of each precious metals. We have some silver and we have some precious metals that we like to keep on hand. It's a hedge against hyperinflation, and it could be used to trade, etc. So I do believe in having some precious metals. Now, how much of that of your portfolio is up to you, same as with crypto. But the 4th way that people keep their emergency fund is in precious metals, primarily gold and silver. Number 2 and number 3 are somewhat similar, but not really. And you'll see why. Number 3 is having cash at home. Most people have it in a safe. Some people have it under the mattress, believe it or not. In fact, that's a Cuban saying. If you're from Miami or the South Florida area, mattress money. A lot of old school Cubans, for whatever reason, back in the day, were comfortable keeping a bunch of cash under their mattress, literally like where they slept under their mattress. So number 3, a lot of people like to have cash at home. I remember I was at a mastermind in San Diego, March 11th, 2020. March 11th or March 12th. I feel like I should know the day, but it's one of those 2 days. And I remember I was at dinner at Eddie V's overlooking the La Jolla Cove. And I had Ryan Pineda sitting to my left. I had Michael Moulton was at that dinner. Just Hunter Hayden, James Hawk. I don't believe Kong was at that. Kong may have been at that dinner, King Kong. All these guys, by the way, I've had on the podcast. I encourage you to go to flipempire.com, search their name in the search bar, because those guys are just really, really smart, good dudes that are doing a lot of good out there. But I remember we were all at dinner and we're having conversations. Everybody's phone starts buzzing. And I remember the first moment that I realized like, oh, damn, like this is different, is when the NCAA and the NBA decided to suspend their season because of COVID. And that was the day that people were like, wow, like at least a lot of people at that table were like this is different. Something's going on here. And who would have known that, right? Like a couple years later, we'd still be like in a pandemic, and how our lives would have changed, and masks and, vaccines and all this kind of stuff, and just a political unrest. But I digress. But I remember sitting at that table, and we started having a conversation around what to do next. And part of that conversation, I remember Ryan Pineda was to my left, and I was talking to a few of the guys, and we're like, some of these guys were like, I need to get my hands on some cash and have it at the house. And I remember within like 48 hours, I had withdrawn a certain amount of money that was in one of my accounts, and I had it in cash because of the uncertainty of the markets, because of the uncertainties, like everything was shutting down. Were banks going to be closed? Was technology going to be disrupted in any way? We just didn't know. There was uncertainty. And so I wanted the peace of mind of having a certain amount of cash at my home. And so a lot of people subscribe to that mindset of just having cash on hand in the event that an emergency strikes and you need to get your hands. Like, what happens in the event that there's no electricity and, banks close, ATMs shut down, like, and you need money? So I think it's a good idea to have some cash on hand. How much cash? That's all relative. I know people that are fine with $1,000 at home. I know people with 5-10 grand, and I know people that need 6 figures at home. Maybe there's some people listening to this show that prefer to have, millions of dollars in cash. I mean, whatever floats your boat. Part of this is a personal choice and understanding why you want an emergency fund. For me, it's something that is highly liquid and is only to be used in emergencies. And, most importantly, gives my wife peace of mind and added security in her eyes, right? So just counting down again: crypto, number 5, precious metals, 4, cash on hand, mattress money, quote unquote, in the safe at home, number 3. Number 2, personal bank account. Most people that commented have some sort of combination of cash on hand and or having money in an account. Now, again, back to the reason I wanted to share the top 5 answers with you is I want to read to you my actual Facebook post. So just give me a quick second. I'm going to read this to you. Where's the best place to keep your emergency fund? Some context to the question. My wife and I keep 6 months worth of living expenses, in parentheses, based on our current lifestyle, in a savings account. This account gives her security, so I've never worried about growing it. Having said that, with inflation on the rise, I'm more aware of how much money we are losing just having it sit there. Again, the goal here is giving her peace of mind, so I've been fine with leaving it there. However, I believe in and, not either or. Now, I'm looking for an alternative that would provide the same security and liquidity in the event of an emergency while having it grow at the same time. I'm curious where you all keep your emergency fund and any thoughts you have on the above. So that was a fire starter to, like I said, over 130 comments. There was a few funny jokes in there as to where people are keeping their money. Over 95% of them, answered a combination or some variation of the top 5 that I'm sharing with you here. Is basically what this boiled down to is I saw this, a pretty fair amount of money sitting in an account, just sitting there. And I realized that inflation is the invisible thief that most people aren't even aware of. Your dollars are eroding every single day with inflation. And it was starting to bug me to just have that money sitting there month after month, year after year. But again, the purpose of it was never to grow it. It was to give my wife peace of mind, and it was to have access to cash in the event of an emergency. So that still remains the primary reason for our emergency fund. But as an entrepreneur, you think about living in an and world, right? Like, how do I have my cake and eat it too? I wanted security, liquidity, safety, and I also wanted it to grow. So I'm starting to get down to the top way that very smart, sharp people have suggested to warehouse this emergency fund that essentially will give you multiple benefits. So number 2 is just having, like I said, a personal bank account. Now, let me go ahead and bring up number 1. Number 1 is something that you may have heard of, you may not have heard of, and it's something that I learned about probably, I think this was in 2015, 16 is the first time I learned about the infinite banking concept, IBC, infinite banking concept. Now, I had some experts on the show a couple of years ago talk about IBC, and I'm going to revisit the topic here probably within the next month or so. because I believe it to be one of the best ways to warehouse your emergency fund. Now, again, this can be created and structured, from what I've learned, many different ways, depending on your needs, depending on your goals, depending on your situation. But the infinite banking concept, what's great about it is it's a whole life policy. It's a whole life insurance policy that provides a death benefit. It provides creditor protection. It grows in a tax-free environment, and it's guaranteed growth based on the contract. Now, the guaranteed growth, we're not talking double-digit, growth here. We're talking about 4%. But it comes with, like I said, it comes with some of these other benefits where it's liquid. You can access the money pretty quickly. My understanding, within a 24 to 72 hour period for the most part. It grows in a tax-free environment. It's protected. It's safe. And it does provide a death benefit in the event that, you were to pass. And the money can be used. There's no restrictions. It's not like a self-directed account where there's prohibited transactions. This can be used for anything. What's really, really cool when it was explained to me about the infinite banking concept is that every single year for about a 4-year period, 4 to 7 year period, you contribute a certain amount of money, and that money goes into one bucket. Now, think about having a separate bucket. Whenever you want to draw from that money, you take a loan from a separate bucket. The bucket that has the money where you're making your yearly contributions continues to compound and grow every single year. So at first it's slow, but compound interest and compounding, what do they call it? The eighth wonder of the world, compound interest, it starts to really take effect. And the gentleman that I met with about this showed me a graph and kind of compared it to a savings account. And it's pretty astonishing how it grows. And so it's something I'm really looking into. And so it's the infinite banking concept. There's a lot of really valuable resources out there. Let me see if I pulled some up here. What Would the Rockefellers Do is a book that was recommended, by the way. I haven't read it yet. Becoming Your Own Banker, Unlock the Infinite Banking Concept by R. Nelson Nash was a book that continued to come up and up. Becoming Your Own Banker. You can learn more about it there. If you have any questions, again, I'm certainly not an expert. I learned about this 6-7 years ago, but didn't really do anything with it, to be honest. And now it's kind of being reintroduced to me. And I think it could be a really good solution for warehousing this emergency fund, where it checks off the box of safe, liquid, could still provide my wife peace of mind, and it grows. And then I get these other benefits that, again, I mentioned, that the death benefit, guaranteed growth, tax-free, creditor protection. So infinite banking concept is something you might want to look into. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to hit me up. Let's connect on social. And I really appreciate you. Quick plug, a shameless plug to ascendyoursuccess.com, which is our high-level mastermind community. We're getting ready here in less than a month, or about a month. We're going to be going to an all-inclusive 5-star resort in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, where we're taking the show on the road, or on the seas, so to speak, for the first time, hosting our mastermind retreat out there. And Steve and I are just prepping and planning for that. In fact, if you're listening to this on the day this podcast is released, we're actually together in Fort Lauderdale at the beach, ready to plan an epic retreat. So if you want to connect with us about that, ascendyoursuccess.com. Other than that, I will catch you on the next episode. Have a great one. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoyed that Flip Empire episode and got a lot of value out of it. Make sure to check the show notes page for any resources that were mentioned. And speaking of resources, honestly, I don't think I've done the best job of sharing with you my top curated, highly recommended tools and resources that I use in my business or have used in my business. In some cases, these are affiliate relationships with people that I highly trust and respect. And I know these tools and resources can help you and your business go to the next level. And as an ethical bribe, if you decide to try out one of these resources using my link, I will go ahead and send you an unadvertised bonus. I'll send you something of high value. All you got to do is shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com. Go ahead and let me know that you tried out this resource, and however I can help you getting started with that. Chances are that I know it very, very well and currently use it or have used it. So make sure to check that out, flipempire.com/resources. And if I can be of help or service to you in any way, just shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com, and I will do anything I can for you. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next show.